That's
All
what I was
right.
gonna say.
Well, before we get started, I just wanted to tell you that I actually saw you at the Lorna Shore show in New York City back in November, I think, or
Oh,
October.
no
Yeah,
way. It was probably October. That's
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. I was at the meet and greet beforehand, and you were at a table with someone, and I'm like, wait, I'm like, is that who I think it is?
That's so funny. Yeah, their Upsolver's manager is one of my best friends, and we just decided to take a trip together. I needed some time away, and he wanted to go see his band, and I never really spent time in New York, so I was just like, sure.
What did you
Hmm?
think of New York?
Oh, not no. Just I hated driving in it. We were staying in Brooklyn. That wasn't fun. Because parking with a car was very difficult.
Oh my god, yeah.
I enjoyed the shows and I enjoyed the people, but I did not enjoy the overall chaos that is New York City.
No, yeah, 100% with you there. Yeah, I do not enjoy New York, but but I always
Yeah.
seem to end up there.
Yeah. If I was to move there, I'd probably be on the outskirts. Like I'd probably just like live in Jersey or something,
All
like far,
right.
far away. Like, you know what I mean? Just yeah.
I used to live in like the Wilkes-Barre Scranton area for a bit, and that's about like 2.5 hours away from there. So like I was always taking trips, and
Oh, did you say Scranton?
yeah, yeah, I was gonna get to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I drove through there on the way, and it's crazy that Motionless in White came from there. It's just so insane, but it's beautiful out there.
Yeah, yeah, they're our homeboys there.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, it's beautiful there.
Yeah, like yeah, the outsides of Scranton is, but like Scranton is honestly like another Philly or New York. It's it's not the best.
Oh, well, I didn't go into the city or anything. It just, you're on the highway outside and you're like, oh, this is really pretty.
No, yeah, yeah, the mountains and stuff are beautiful, but yeah, the city's not it.
Okay, good to know. I shall avoid like the plague.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh, goodness.
That was actually one question I was gonna ask is how did you get involved with Motionless for Cyberhex and oh which one was it? I'm
Oh,
sorry, I'm blanking.
Corpse Nation. I forgot
Yeah,
the name of it
that's
on a stream recently. Yeah, so I get you. Well, I've known Chris for a very, very long time. Too long, actually. Coming up almost 10 years, I think.
Oh wow.
And yeah, because it's a really strange story. When I joined Cradle, my first show ever was in Mexico City. And that day, Danny Filth was checking his emails and we were all in this weird, like, some backstages are weird. So it was kind of like this like strip. It was like a hallway as a room. It was very interesting. And we're all getting ready together in this back hallway that apparently is a room, a green room or something. And he's checking his email and he turns around and he's like, some band called Motionless in White asked me to be on their album. I don't think I'm gonna do it. And I just whipped around and I'm like, you'd be stupid not to. Those guys are gonna blow up. Like they're already, and I just think, bless Danny Filth, I think he just lives under a bit of a rock in England, and that's fine. We all have our rocks that we live under for protection of pop culture or just because we are busy doing other things. And I said, no, you have to do it. Like, you know what I mean? You have to do it. So then when it finally came out, I messaged Chris and I said, song turned out great. I'm glad he did it. And then Chris and I got talking and I told him this story and he's just like, oh, thank you so much. Like, I really wanted him on this album. So then because of that, we'd meet up every time we were in the same city or at a festival. And he's always just been really lovely. He's a very lovely person who's very driven, very focused. But whenever you get a chance to hang around him, it's always a good time. He's really warm and welcoming and funny. So Chris and I kept in touch, and then it was the end of 21. He just shoots me a message out of nowhere on Instagram. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I'm like, dude, you have my number. Like, what, why are you hitting me up on the gram? Like, and then he just, we laughed about it. And then he's like, so do you want to sing on the next Motionless album? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course I do. So then that was it. He's like, we need you for these two songs. It was a very professional and quick process, and he knew exactly what he wanted me to sing, and I did it. And I said I needed some time. I mean, I'm always busy, but I was pretty slammed at the time. So like, I'm gonna push off other work just to do this because I want to do it so badly. But something I didn't tell him until later, I had sang operatic style vocals at that point in over 2 years. So I kind of had to get like back on the horse. And I needed like 2 weeks to remember some technique and I guess wake up those parts of my vocal cords. But yeah, it did it. And then I thought, because of the way the industry is going, I thought it was going to be like another year before it was out. And he's like, no, it's coming out March. I'm like, are you kidding me? That is so fast. After it was intense. It was like a very intense launch day for Cyberhex. But yeah, that's it. And like, what an honor! What an incredible band, and what an amazing album. That album's done so good. So yeah, it's just you never know. You meet these people and it's like, oh, he's my homie, he's cool. And then like 10 years later, it's whatever, maybe 8 or 9 years later, it's like, oh, I sang on their new album. That's even way cooler.
Yeah, they're so cool, especially Chris. Like, even though we're from the same city, I've met him twice, maybe. Like, it's weird, but
Nice.
I went to their album release that they had like a local show there, and it was amazing.
Oh yeah, they go hard on the hometown shows, or so I've been told.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah, it was such a good show.
Yeah, they're so good live. Like one of the better live bands out there for sure.
Oh, I totally agree. And I still can't believe they're from my hometown. Like, it's weird to say, you know?
Yeah, we have some big ones from our hometown too. Like it. Well, it's not so much Oshawa, but it's like the region. Like we have, I think I want to say Sean Mendes, but we also have like Chaos. We have Protest the Hero. We have like just a plethora of talent. It's really cool, and they're like, oh yeah, we came from the same city. That's nuts.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, wow, I can't believe anyone like made it out alive. This is insane. Yeah, that's very cool. Very, very cool for you for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and we also have Breaking Ben, but that's no big deal. But
Oh, true.
and I guess you've probably never been asked this question before, but what inspired you to pursue a career in music?
Oh man, I don't even know how to answer this one anymore. I was young and dumb once. No, I'm kidding. I think it was a combination. It was those damn teenage hormones. I was 15, and it was like, I think it was a combination of like Blink 182, seeing their live DVD and being like, holy shit, I want to do that. The Josie and the Pussycats movie, for multiple silly reasons, but still, it's like, man, I really want to be in a band. I don't know why I wanted to be in a band. Like, I'm now thinking about how hard it is to be. It's a marriage. Like, being in a band is so much work. I'm like, I really wanted to be in a band with all girls, which I accomplished eventually. But there's that. But then, yeah, Kitty, the metal band Kitty, inspired that too. So I think it was just that time, like 2001, 2002, the pop culture that was happening, that I was experiencing. It was just like, this is something I really want to do. And I've really had this burning desire to write my own lyrics and my own songs and put chords underneath them. And that was it. I've followed that fire, I guess, or that passion, that flame. What, we're going on 22 years now. Like, it's been a very long time. So yeah, I committed and stuck to it. It's had its up and downs, but still going, still going.
And that's all that matters, that you're still going with it.
Yeah, still trying. Might feel like I'm on my last wheel, but here we are.
Aw. Well, it doesn't look like it.
No, cheers. Well, thank God for social media. We can just post our highlights. No one has to know that I'm a struggle bus behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Just post the highlights and, and you're good.
Yeah. Everything's fine. I'm fine. Everything's good. Mind the dumpster fire in the background. Cheers.
Your music often explores dark themes and emotions. What draws you to those subjects, and how do you channel that into your music?
I'm like a very emotional person, and anyone who's super close to me and knows me really well is like, yeah, you have the big feels. And I think when you're so emotional from such a young age, there is this darkness around it because you have such a hard time understanding what you're feeling and what you're going through, and you have a hard time communicating it, and that causes its own problems. And I think that that's just what has translated into my music. It is truly an expression of myself. But I think also because I like a lot of other darker, moodier music, it influences my my songwriting. So I don't know. I've always been drawn to the dark side. I think there's this dark side to all of us that we need to explore, whether it's like our subconscious or our trauma or whatever it may be. We need to really like explore it and heal it if we want to. Some people are terrified. They just run from their problems all day till they hit the grave. But I think that it's important to also embrace that side of yourself and that side of humanity and that side of the human experience and create art from it. Because honestly, I've tried to write happy songs and they're terrible. They're absolutely I hate writing. I think I wrote something once. It's like a love song. And I was like, oh, this is awful. It sounds like something I should give to Kelly Clarkson. And uh, it was not a fun experience. So I like having that deep conversation through my music about like the really hard stuff that I've experienced that I think a lot of other people go through. And yeah, I mean, like, yeah, there's definitely that nostalgic urge to like, 90s vibes of going and disappearing into a Transylvanian castle. Like, I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Like, be need of it would and wouldn't be need if vampires existed. They're so romanticized, and I'm like, honestly, it sounds pretty terrible. But like yeah, sure. Like there's the cheeky cheesy side of like the darkness that shows up in pop culture and through black metal bands. But yeah, no. I'll let them do that. That's their thing. I'm like, hey, I'm just an emotional person telling a story over here. So if you want to come join me, like come hang out.
So no black metal band for you?
Oh no, I have a black metal band called Antiqua.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, but we're more. I think Zen and I are like we are sophisticated. Well, I'm a complete goof, but he's very like elegant and like I'm going to put out like this premium art and he's like dark poetry with his vague lyrics and I'm like you do you buddy he honestly is he's a great artist and he's a poet but yeah we're more like we are sophisticated, no cheesy 90s like you know castle in the winter under a full moon, not for us.
No, I totally get that. Even though, like you said, it's like romanticized. It's it's not for everyone. It's all right.
Yeah, and if that's for you, like go read your gothic romance novels and have a good one. Like I get it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've also worked as like a composer and a music teacher, I believe.
Kind of. That's kind of the dark ages of my life, teaching. I don't really talk about that. I did used to teach, but I don't enjoy teaching. I mean, I made the best of it and I made the best of it for my students, but that was like I was 24 or 25 when I used to teach. Um, I don't do that. If you're thinking like today I now do like consulting and coaching
Mm.
for other musicians who want to learn digital marketing. That's my boring, nerdy side hustle for me anyway. Like must be like, oh, that sounds so like nerdy. I'm like, it is. Composing, I mean, I haven't really composed for many other people. I will hop on other people's music, but it's very rare when I hop on the piano or composed anything. So
Do these experiences, I guess, like in the past, or like you said, back in the dark ages, do these
yeah.
experiences influence your approach to like songwriting or performing?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's more, I think in my 20s, I was looking to find myself and I would take influence from other artists to, kind of use it as a mask to be like, I'm like, oh, I like what this person's doing here and I like this person's doing here, like performance wise or writing wise, whatever it may be. And like, kind of masking that a little bit. But now I find in my 30s, like I am finding myself and my own sound and what I want to do, especially with this next album I'm working on. So, yeah, I know how to take influence now, but not take it entirely. You know what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, like any part of my life there's always had been some influence on my music from it for sure.
You've collaborated with a variety of artists and musicians. Who are some of your favorite collaborators?
Oh man, I mean, yeah, Motionless was definitely a big one. I really enjoyed working with Cancer Bats. They're just really cool guys, and they're so easy to work with, and their music is incredible. Um, for what they do. Like I miss those guys. They're just such incredible musicians and wonderful people. The big moment for me was working with Mirker or Emily Brunn. I did the song Rivers Blessed with her and her team, and it was the most exciting, rewarding, and stressful thing I've ever done because I put her in the same category as like Bjork. So she's just this magical being who makes music. And every time I hear something from her, it just blows my mind and it just touches this primal part of my soul. So when she's like, hey, can you take this song and put it to harp? I've played it on the piano, but I'm not a harpist. Like, I need you to arrange this and put it all together for me. I'm like, okay. And I slaughtered my hands, like my fingers were bleeding. I was playing so much just to perfect this piece for her, and get it to sound good, as good as I could. I think I took like 8 weeks on it. I really put my whole heart and soul into it, but also it changed my idea on how to compose music, how to arrange music, how to play the harp, how to approach writing for the harp. Like she just so freely has this idea, and though it may be a little bit complicated, it transforms lives. Like everything she does transforms a life around her, and her music definitely transforms the lives of her listeners. But for me as a musician, it transformed me. Like it turned me into a better musician with a different mindset. So that was like extremely rewarding. But like once it was sent off, I like went to my partner at the time and I'm like, okay, I need a week's sleep. That was so much.
Wow.
So, yeah, yeah, for sure.
If you like to like throw it out into the ether, is there anyone you'd love to collaborate with?
Oh, yeah. Definitely Jonathan Davis of Korn. I've said that one for a very long time. I also, for some weird reason, I'd love to work with Abel Tesfaye the weekend. I love his music. I love his voice. Uh, Bad Omens is one that would be really sick to work with. They're such an incredible band. And I, this is just, what do they say? A pie in the sky. What's the saying? I think that's what it is. Or when pigs fly. I don't know. But it's John Crosby of Vast. Vast is one of my favorite bands ever. It's actually been extremely influential on my work. Um, and I would love to do something with him. I love his voice. I love his music. I love his writing style. Even if I got him on something of mine, or if I was able to just even do a backing vocal on one of his songs, I would be like, I could die happy. So yeah, that's definitely like I think that there is the collaboration bucket list, for sure.
No, that's a great list.
Oh, thanks.
And how did you first discover the harp?
Well, probably The Little Mermaid. Um, I'm pretty sure there's a fish playing a harp in there somewhere, and I watched that movie obsessively when I was a little girl. But I mean, I'm half Irish. My dad will say Scottish, but the DNA test said otherwise. And I'm half Romanian, so very, I guess, juxtaposes, very opposite. It's very opposite in a lot of ways, but very similar in some. My mom might disagree, but that's okay. So I think just growing up with that influence and being around a lot of folk music, Celtic folk music, it was just kind of always there in the background. And I think it was because of my classical music journey, like learning classical piano and then seeing the orchestra with the grand harp, like the full proper big ass like pedal harps. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. Like anytime I was in uni for one semester, and anytime I was with the orchestra, I'd always go up to the harps and be like, can I just like play a few strings? Like this is so magical. But I think it was mainly when I was 22. I was in my old band, Mary and the Black Lamb, and the guitarist handed me, well, he didn't hand it to me. We went out to like a used record shop and I found Vespertine by Bjork. And I went home and I just listened to that album. It was the winter time too, so it was like the perfect soundtrack. I listened to it like on repeat for like a whole week. And I was like, wow, that's the harp and that's like what the harp can do. And then from there, I started saving for a harp. Um, and when you're in your early 20s, like $2,000 is a lot of money. Now it's just like, oh, that's my monthly bills, like woo
Mm.
adulting, like whatever, you know. But like back then, working at coffee shops and being like the broke songwriter, it was like, okay, like I have a long way to go, but I definitely want one of these. And back then, they were extremely hard to find. There wasn't many companies, like especially a small lever harp, like a folk harp. I actually had to drive like 3 hours to go get one
Oh
because there
wow.
wasn't there wasn't any in my area. Yeah, so fast forward to 2000, I think 2009, 2010 is when I finally had the money and I got my first harp. And yeah, it was just something that I knew I wanted and I wanted to do. And then I'm not really scared to like experiment. And I was like, let's see what a harp would sound like if we put it into like heavy metal and black metal, which I just started doing. And I mean, my collabs over the years have allowed it. Cradle of Filth allowed it on, Hammer of the Witches. So, when I was working with them, they were like, okay, we can throw some harp in here. So it was just kind of like, it became part of my identity as a musician. And I love it. It's beautiful. I've been rehearsing for my show in Montreal next month, which is very stripped down. It's just with strings, and I'll be playing the harp for a few songs. And yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I love and I kept doing, and I would definitely love to like have, like Emily the harpist, like she throws all her harps through pedals. I would love to do more stuff like that, but I just haven't had the time or money. But that's okay. I play almost daily. Like I'll just sometimes sit there at night and just, play for a few minutes to my cats. They're my best audience. And it's, yeah, sometimes you just find an instrument that speaks to your soul and it becomes a part of you.
That was a beautiful answer. Wow.
Glad you enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
And you've cited film scores as a major influence on your music. What are some of your favorite film scores and how have they inspired you?
Oh man, there's a few. I mean, we're always gonna praise Zimmer because he's something else. But I think like the soundtracks that have had the biggest influence on me has definitely been like Dracula, um, the Lord of the Rings soundtracks. I would name composers, but I'm actually just so tired today. I can't remember their names. So,
That's
or
okay.
I'm going to get them wrong. So bear with me. Um, yeah, I think, especially like there's so many like obscure, smaller film composers now. And I think just like when I hear something, I just know right away, like what was it? It was 1889, that series on Netflix, that soundtrack was so neat because it was very uncomfortable electronics. But then you have like, is it Menzel? He did Menzel. Oh my God, I can't remember his name, but he did Requiem for a Dream, and he's been doing a lot of more modern stuff like Black Mirror. And I love that soundtracks like they keep the orchestra alive. They're definitely where the orchestra is like staying afloat these days because the classical pool is getting smaller and smaller. But also, I love what the electronics are doing for film scores. So that's kind of more where I've been inspired, and I'm guilty of having Shazam handy. And anytime I hear something on a show or in a movie, I will Shazam it, and then I'll go like listen to the piece and study it. But I think it's more for sound design. It's more like it doesn't influence my lyrics or my song structures so much. It's more like it influences the production style that I'm going for and the sounds that I'm trying to create. But you hear it in moments like I've been composing strings. I don't want to give away too many surprises for my next album, but I've been composing string parts for the next album, and you can definitely hear the influence in there for sure.
Yeah, and I totally agree with basically everything there with film scores and like you said, like Lord of the Rings is probably one of the best ones.
Mm-hmm. It was magic. Yeah.
And I'm always there too. Like when I'm watching a movie or show, I'll pull up Siri and be like, "Hey, what's this song?" And then I'll add it to my like playlist. And
Yeah, thank God for Spotify for the playlists and Shazam for helping us, beat detectives and find new music that we like.
oh yeah,
Very
no,
exciting. What a time to be alive.
yeah.
I
You performed at a variety of venues and festivals throughout your career. Do you have a favorite show or performance that stands out to you?
would say the most memorable shows I've ever done is in Australia. I have a lot of really good memories from like Perth all the way to Brisbane, especially Melbourne and Sydney. Those have been some incredible times. Usually always at the same venues, but the crowd there's amazing. The people are there, they're amazing. The weather's fine, the animals are cute, the food is good. I love Australia. Um, I think the weirdest one that was like, oh my God, what happened? Like you have that moment of like, you get the call, you join a big band, and then all of a sudden you're on a world tour. And all you care about is like doing a good job and making sure that like, you're doing the music justice and you're making the band that hired you happy. And then we go to Hammer Sonic, I think that's the name of it. It's a festival in Indonesia. My first time there. And that weekend was really intense because I met the guys in Cannibal Corpse for the first time. I finally met the guys in Epica who I've been chatting with online for a while, mainly Rob, the bassist. And it kind of was like that moment of like, it catches up with you. And then you're like, oh, this is my life now. Like, I'm a like traveling musician. And this is right before I went to Australia for the first time. And mind you, the Australians flew up to that festival and drank the festival dry of beer by like the second day. It was hilarious. But going on stage for the first time to 10,000 people, like at that point, I'd done my first show was 3,000 in Mexico. And I was like, that was cool. And then after that, it was about 1,000, per venue across South America. And then, in Asia. And I was like, this is interesting. And then, then you're like in front of 10,000 people and you're like, oh man, this is insane. It was insane. It was like, I was like, okay, I've been working towards this my whole life. Here we are. But that I will never forget that poor like 27-year-old me on stage being like, oh shit, it was hot. It was like 42, 43 degrees. It was like humid as heck. My hair was massive, had like proper like I looked like I was in a hair band, a hair metal band. It was insane. And yeah, that was definitely when it was like a moment in time where I was like, oh boy.
Your time in Cradle of Filth, have you like learned anything that from then that you still use to this day?
Everything, absolutely. Mostly people skills. I'm not gonna lie. I can navigate my way through multiple personalities in the business world thanks to my experience in that band for sure. But it taught me a lot, I think, more than anything about touring and working with a crew, and so much about marketing and working with a major label, releasing an album, how a label works, what a proper manager is supposed to do. It taught me so much. And it forced me to grow as a writer. Like I wouldn't have sat down and started like composing my own strings if I didn't get that push from the Cradle Camp to do it because it was needed for the music. So yeah, it was 7 very long years, but it was every year, every day. God, every day there was something new to learn. So
Did you ever have like a favorite song to perform with them?
oh, I loved Honey and Sulfur. I really loved that song. It was such a good song. It was just so perfectly structured and written. I mean, I'll get cursed for this. It kind of reminded me of like a Septic Flesh track, but it was just such a great song. It is a great song.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree with you.
Mm, really fun to play live.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're on your own label, right?
Yeah, but it's not, don't get too excited. Like it's like a private label. It's just a name. It's just like, you go to fill out things on the back end of the industry, the business jazz, and they're like, "What's your label?" And I'm like, "It's called this," but like we don't chart, and like we need another distribution deal, and like you know what I mean. Like it's a very disheveled like grassroots back end. It's just like one room in my house. It's not. It's just I went to digital marketing school. I took care of myself. I take care of myself, and I do the same thing for Antiqua with my connections, but it's not like a proper setup, fully functioning, fully formed label that takes on other artists. Like it's not that at all.
Uh-huh. So like what inspired you to like go that own like independent route with it?
Mm, honestly, I was kind of forced to. Um, when I was ready to release Martyr, there was a few chances for me to sign with some labels, but there was a shift that was happening in the industry at that point, big one, and I just didn't get a deal. So I just said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to release it on my own. I have the resources. I know the right people. I know how to work the digital space to connect with as many people as I may need. So, or, find new fans, get my music to new people who would like it. So I just said, heck it, I'm doing it. And it was exhausting and I'll probably never do it again by myself. But, at the time it was kind of like it was my only option and it went over really well. I'm really proud of it, but I don't think I'll put myself through that ever again. It was much easier for Antiqua because I had the help of the band members. Like some people could take on some little tasks, and Zen does all of our graphic design, which saved us a lot of money. And he also is good with web design. So, he would help me set up the website and the shop. And that really helped. I wasn't alone in that. And so far we've only released 2 songs. So it's like, it was a lot easier that way when I had more people involved. But yeah, independent it's not for the weak. That's for sure. It is a lot of work. So
No, I totally get it. Like I don't work in the music like industry or whatever, but like I'm like an indie like filmmaker and it's hard to
nice.
get like your work out there and to get it under like people to watch it, you know?
For sure.
But
Yeah, I get it.
are there any like artists or bands that you're currently listening to now that you want people to put on their radar?
Oh yeah, definitely. Let me just, I've got it. You know how you're like, my memory's so bad. I need to open my Spotify. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I've kind of shifted over to the more modern, more North American rock and metal. I love Bad Omens. I absolutely love Spirit Box. I'm huge into Sleep Token right now.
Oh, I think
Yeah,
yeah, everyone.
yeah. Sleep Token really hits the spot. And of course, I really, you know, with working with Motionless, I really dived back into their catalog. But I'm also huge in electronic music. So like Kanga, MXMS. What else do we have here? Trying to see if there's any other. Oh, Health, Crosses, So Below. Yeah, like I'm really into that stuff. But today is March 24th, and the new Nail Viscaris prog metal band from Australia. Their stuff's out. It's very, very good. Also, my bestie Zen is in it, so I have to shout out my homie. And the new Of Sulfur is out today. They're like black and deathcore, sitting on that album. And I'm not just trying to plug all my friends. Like, it is a really good album. So that was really sick to be part of that. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that people should have on their radar. I think that's about it. I've just been in this very little contained, like, I don't think my brain can handle more than like 10 acts right now because I've been working on my new album. So I'm like, this is good. I will sit here with these 10 artists and just have them on repeat when my brain is sore. That's it.
No, that's such a good list. So yeah, anyone listening, totally check out all those if you can. Yeah, you mentioned Crosses. I recently got into them like a little while ago. They're really good.
So good. Chino really knocked it out of the park with that group of musicians. Like, it's really good stuff.
Oh yeah. And, like his voice with that like electronic music, it just works perfectly.
It does, and I can see how he tried to creep it into the Deftones over the years, but I think him having that side project is good for both the Deftones and him. So very cool.
Yeah, no, totally. You've been very like vocal about your support for mental health advocacy and animal welfare. How do you use your platform to raise awareness for these causes?
I'm not going to lie to you. Since the pandemic, I have definitely taken this step back, um, because there was a lot of causes going on during the pandemic, and it was overwhelm. And I am still willing to sit down and have a conversation with anyone. Like, you want to know about veganism, you want to know about animal rights, human rights, women's rights, you want to talk about mental health, like, I'm here. All my friends know that. And I will definitely talk about, like, I've had burnout, I'm definitely on the spectrum. I got a lot that comes with that. So, I haven't spoken up about a lot of those things. And, it's been a while now, but I think that the past 3 years has just been overwhelm for everyone. So I'm just like, yes, I have a platform in the massive sea. I am one smaller voice, and that's okay. And I can reach many lives, and I feel like I have touched many lives. But coming of age, I've been more like, you know what? My music's enough. I've done a lot of work. What I put out there is enough. I definitely have this very egalitarian spirit. I'm very much a justice warrior, but I think I've burned myself out by being too many things at once and feeling the need to just like always speak up and be heard. I think I just came to this place over the pandemic of, I'm a musician, my music is enough, I am enough. People can come seek, they can come seek me out if they want a conversation, they want to hear something, they want to ask questions, absolutely. But there comes a point in your life where it's like you have to kind of conserve your energy and save it for the important things, like making music, because I'm not just a singer songwriter lyricist, I'm also a composer and a producer, and I work alongside with my team and the engineers, and that is a lot. That is a lot. I didn't even know I was a producer until like my manager's like, what? And my production credits were being stolen. And it's like, no wonder I'm so freaking tired. I'm doing like three people's jobs. But when you love your music and you have a vision and you want to get it out there, like, you're going to take on those roles and you're going to, I guess, slave away over it night and day until it's the way you want it to sound or the lyrics are right. So coming back to what I was saying, I've put more of my energy towards that because it's made me happy. And I think when I'm happy, that's when I can have those conversations better. But if I'm in a place where I'm a little shaken and unstable and I'm still working through my thoughts and emotions, then it's like, well, why should I be stepping up about these things? And I definitely, over the pandemic, minimized my problems because it's like, it's something that people are taught. It's like, oh, well, like my pain isn't as bad as that pain. And the truth is, it's the human experience is suffering. All of our pain is valid. But there was some really awful stuff going on during the pandemic, especially with minorities. And it was hard to watch. And I was just like, you know what? Sitting here as a single white girl or woman, it's like I'm not going to say anything right now because everyone is super on edge. And I feel like this is going to cause more retaliation and arguments and people coming after me than it is me making a difference right now. So I'm coasting now and I'm waiting for the better times to use my voice to speak up about things. What's more important to me right now is my mental health and my happiness and making my music. And yeah, I've definitely taken a step away from that. I still, you know what, I still have my besties and we talk about all these things, behind closed doors, and that's lovely. And I'm glad I still have like this tribe around me of, for the most part, very like-minded people where we can have these conversations. But on a bigger scale, I really just want to be known as a musician who makes music, and I've come to that place of like that's enough for now.
Mental health, your happiness is what matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Changing mood a little bit. I see on your social media you're always like geeking out over Evanescence.
My favorite band ever, forever.
So like, how did that love for them start?
It's so cheesy because it's like it ties in the whole like it woke me up inside. Like it's true. And a lot of people, it was like a phenomenon when they broke and people heard them, they're like, this is my music. This is this represents my reflection of what I am going on, what I'm going through right now perfectly. It's so relatable. It's the soundtrack to my frustrations and misery in life. And when they came out, I was 16? I was just 17 when they blew up. 16 turning 17, pretty sure. And at that point, I knew about Kitty and I knew about Chevelle, and we had Linkin Park. And that was pretty fantastic. I'm not going to lie about that. I love Linkin Park. But Evanescence hit the scene, and it really made me realize like I love punk music. I like ska. I like pop punk. I love this. Love Jack Off Jill. But what the fuck is this? This is amazing. Like this is just, and I got that album and I listened to it for hours. Like I think I listened to Fallen for 2.5 years straight. It was my first CD is, you can't listen to it in a CD player. It's destroyed. Luckily I have multiple copies because, that's just what happens when they're your favorite band. So I'm not deprived of like having a backup fresh copy. And I'm pretty sure I have like 3 copies of my Fallen on vinyl. So I'm good. I'm good. I got the backups, but it just transformed me and made me realize like I really do love classical music. I've actually loved classical music my whole life, been exposed to it from a very young age. I do want to learn the piano. I do enjoy rock music more so than punk. And at the time, like this is 2003, like I was more listening to A Perfect Circle and Korn, like I was more listening to that stuff too. I like that I was just exposed to so many different subgenres of metal and alternative music at the time. And that was it. That was just that album. It was like looking into a mirror. And I know a lot of people felt this way. They're like, it really painted what I was going through, and it made me feel seen and understood. And that's, I think, why Evanescence has had such a huge impact on my life. And The Open Door is probably my favorite album ever. I have it tattooed on my back. And that was magnificent. That was Amy working with Terry, and it's a masterpiece and it's a huge influence on me. So yeah, working with Rocky Gray all these years later, him and I are working on the next album together, which like now he's my homie. It doesn't hit as hard. Some days it does. But when I did Martyr with him, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is ridiculous. But in the best way possible. So yeah, I will always be a big fan. I think Origin is like the heaviest trip hop album to ever exist. Some people will fight me on that. I love trip hop. It's like it's my fave. It's my ride or die. Um, and Fallen is the golden masterpiece that it is. And then The Open Door was just unbelievable. It was like the right album at the right time for the right people who needed it. And that's like my holy trinity of Evanescence. Of course, there's a lot of cool things to be found in the demos before Origin, definitely. And I'm pretty sure the demo version of Fallen has some nuggets on it too. But it was just so empowering to see a woman doing rock music at the time in such a way where you had the masculinity of the band, but you had the femininity of the piano and the choirs and the strings. And it was like kind of like it was a gateway drug for so many people to finding Lacuna Coil and Nightwish and Within Temptation and Epica. And yeah, I don't want to think about how different my life would be if Evanescence didn't exist. I don't even think I'd have my friend circle, or I would have worked with the people I've worked with. And that is a terrifying thought. I don't even know if I'd still be doing music. So yeah, thank God they existed when they did.
No, totally. And yeah, Open Door I think is a 10 out of 10 album, not one bad song.
Oh,
It's
yes.
just perfect.
It is. It is a perfect album. I love it. Anytime like they reissue something and I'm like, well, screw my bank account. Like, here we go. It's the aesthetic. I think Amy was really, as an artist, was really, really expressing herself at the time, and it was incredible. I hope she's really proud of it.
Yeah. She probably has to be at this point.
I hope so, or like that would just be disappointing. No,
Yeah.
I think she's very proud of it. She plays quite a few of those songs live, so to
Yeah.
this day.
I haven't seen them live yet, but I'm going to Rockville and they're going to be there, so I'm
Oh
so
yeah,
happy.
enjoy. And you'll love it. Enjoy.
Yeah, and it's the
Yeah.
same night as Avenged Sevenfold also, so I'm like, all right, that's a perfect night already.
Hmm. They're really good live too, so you'll love it.
I was supposed to see them live with Metallica back in 2017, but they pulled out at their Philly show because Sinister Gates had his kid
Oh,
that night.
yes, children will do that.
I was mad, but also like, all right, I can't be too mad,
Yeah, it's like he is bringing a new life into this world, but like, what? You couldn't deliver the baby side stage? Rude. No, I'm kidding.
No, I agree. When I was younger, I had like 3 copies of Open Door like on CD,
Oh, wow.
and last year when they did the record store day, they had the exclusive like silver edition vinyl. I was like, well,
Oh,
there
hell
goes
yeah.
there goes my money.
Yeah. I had to get mine imported from like across Canada. I know quite a few people in the vinyl industry, and I called my buddy and I'm like, so I think mine came from like Manitoba. Like yeah, the things we do for our favorite band. Nostalgia. It's a hell of a drug.
It really is. No, but the funniest story about how I became an Evanescence fan, it was actually through like the Daredevil movie back in like
Right.
2004 or 5. I was way too young to be watching that, and
True.
they had like I think 3 songs in it. It was like "Bring Me to Life," "My Immortal," and I forget which other one, but
Was
I
there a third song? Now I have to Google this.
I believe so. I may be wrong, but I know those 2 were in it.
they had Breathe No More in Electra. Are you thinking
Oh,
of that?
okay. That's what I'm thinking of then.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the fact check.
Anytime.
But yeah, I was way too young, and I remember that, and I was like, "Ooh," I'm like, "This is amazing," and I was like, I was 4, but I didn't say that, but
Hmm. Yeah, you're probably just like, I like how this sounds.
yeah. And I remember
Yeah, her.
my dad and
Mhm.
sister, they bought like Fallen, and that's that's where it started.
Yeah, Amy has one of those voices. It's very soothing. Like anyone can kind of just sit there and listen to her sing, and it's like, doesn't matter how old you are, it's really beautiful to listen to.
Oh, exactly.
Hmm.
So
So that's cool.
yeah, thank you, Marvel.
Yes, cheers.
The big final question: what's next for you in your music career, and what can fans expect to see from you in the coming future?
I have been destroying myself to get my life together because I think we've all suffered in one way or another because of the pandemic. It doesn't matter what, there's some factor of someone's life that has been greatly affected that needs healing or regrowth or restructuring. So I've really been growing as a person and just trying to focus on making my next album and making new music that I'm proud of, that I love. And that can be scary because sometimes you change your sound a little bit and you go against the normal structures, but like it's okay to take people on a listener's journey. It's not like, you know, you make it a little prog. It's like there's a lot of pop music that is extremely progressive, especially if you look in like the 90s and early 2000s. So I'm not too worried, but I've definitely just been it's been hard. I haven't been working on many other people's music, which takes energy away, and you need that for your own music. But I've been really struggling behind the scenes to get my life in order so I can do. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, I promise. But like, I want to do this next album. I've been mainly on Patreon with my core fan base there, who are just so freaking supportive, and I'm so grateful for them every single day. And they have been supporting my journey of, I guess, it's been coming up 2 years, and we've just been taking all my B-sides that I never finished before I joined Cradle. Once I joined Cradle, they all just like got forgotten about because that's like the ADHD mind, I guess. And we've been recreating old songs I found on my laptop and breathing a new life into them. And that's been wonderful. And some of those songs are going to end up on the next Heavy album, which is very exciting. But right now, people can just expect me to be all about the music, chilling on Patreon, and writing my next album. But there will be some singles and some music videos in between there. They'll happen when they happen. But yeah, I think the way the world has gone, I think there's this great expectation to be all the things and do many things. And I'm kind of going to challenge that norm and just be like, you know what? I'm just going to be the one thing I want to be, and I'm going to do it very well. And I'm going to hope that that resonates in such a way that it'll take me to the next step of my career. So that's where it's at right now. Thanks for asking. I do appreciate it. And the next 2 years are going to be a journey. That's for sure.
Well, I know it'll definitely be worth it because I'll be honest, everything you put out has been just really, really, really good. So, so
Oh,
I'm
thank
excited.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you. That really means a lot. I really appreciate it. Because sometimes you take a break and you wonder, you're like, it's the dumbest thought in your head, but it's like, is anyone gonna care? Is anyone gonna like remember me? Because I think it's just the machine of the 90s and the early 2000s of like, if you're not top of mind in media, people tend to forget about you, and then you're just a trend and you're not cool anymore. But the metal world is so not like that. Like, metal fans are so not like that. Like, I know people who have been frothing at the mouth waiting for new albums from these artists they've been a fan of for like 10, 20 years. Like, Nea Obliviscaris coming out last night, the new album being out today, that fan base is having like a Mardi Gras right now. And they were so patient. I don't remember when their last album was. I think it's been like 5 or 6 years. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. But like, like because of that, like the dedication that these fans have. So I'm like, yeah, I gotta keep that in mind. Thank you for the reminder that, people do still care and want to hear something. It really means a lot.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I feel like especially now with like social media, people feeling the need to always like grind and keep staying in the topic. But like you said, the metal
Mm-hmm.
community, people understand it takes time.
Yeah, that's really considerate because I have a lot of friends in electronic music, and I'm so jealous of their studio budgets. Like it does not cost that much to put out electronic music production wise. But like they're always cranking out tunes and albums, and I'm just like, whoa, y'all are on speed. Like, can you calm down? And then I come over to the metal space, and everyone's like, we just chilling, listening to vinyl, sipping our coffee or our beer, and I'm like, sick. Y'all are cool.
Well, again, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for doing this, and thanks for your patience. I know it took a long while for us to connect, but it was really nice chatting with you.
Yeah, it was such a great time talking with you.
Yeah, of course, no problem. And stay in touch. If you ever want to do another one, like when I have something new out, just reach out and we'll get you in the shuffle.
Yeah, totally. That sounds great.
Okay. Well, it's really nice to talk with you, AJ. Take care. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Bye.